Hey fans and friends, Bob here at Bob's Barn Workshop. Here's a project you haven't seen me work on before. This is something I bought a few months ago. I could get nothing out of it but a black screen. I've already taken it out of the case. You see a million guys do this online. You take out 3 screws, the case opens up. There's 6 or 7 screws that hold the circuit board. There's a couple of paper aluminized shields. You throw them away because all they do is trap heat. So what I'm going to do today is what I had to do is it just gave me a black screen, and I had no way of testing all these high specialized chips. I poked around, the signals looked okay, but I still got a black screen. But there's one chip called the PLA, which is the programmable logic array, which is very often the problem because it's kind of like the traffic cop that controls everything going on the buses in this thing. Your VIC chip, which was the Commodore video generating chip, went in this socket. The timing chip. The SID, which was the sound chip. This particular board assembly number is a 250425, and I've been watching Adrian's Digital Basement, and Adrian likes this board because he says it's got the best video. So when I searched for a used Commodore, I looked for this model number, and so they will usually be in the 5 million plus serial number of a USA made one. So if it's over 5 million, you're more than often guaranteed that it's going to be what I call a 425 board. Before I sent it out, I pulled each chip out. I cleaned all the pins with some solvent, and I cleaned them with some light sandpaper. I toothbrushed all the sockets with contact cleaner, put them all back in one at a time, tested it, and I got nothing. So I sent them away to a guy, and I may release his name. I have to ask him. I can't give you his name right now. He tested them, and sure enough, and here's how I got my chips back in static foam, which I sent him that way. He said the PLA was bad. He makes a replacement PLA, which is this fancy, nice little new chip right here. I hope you can see it. My lighting isn't extremely good here. Has a nice modern surface mount. He said everything else was good. He said the SID chip was a little flaky. The SID goes up here. And the PLA is always U17. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them all back in. I'm just going to fire it up and see what it looks like. So we're going to pause. I'll come back after I've inserted them. I'll be very careful inserting them. You don't bend any pins. These are the Commodore supplied sockets that luckily were all in this board already for all the big custom chips. But they're the single wipe, so they only wipe on the inside of the legs. So that's why I sanded these lightly. Okay, I'll come back. Now, once you start inserting these, you got to be really careful that there's a mark on the chip here for the pin number 1 end, which is like a little horseshoe cut into the plastic. And if you look at your socket, but what you really want to look at is the solder mask printed on the board, because those sockets can be put in backwards. But you check those before you insert these, and boy, these are delicate, so you got to really be careful lining these up. If they don't feel like they're going in easy, then stop. Okay? Alright, I'll come back. I'm going to put these 2 bits. What I'm doing right now is I'll raise you up here a little bit. I'm checking with my oscilloscope what the that looks like the 5 volts. Come on. What we'll do is we'll ground this all the way down here. And I'm going to put it on 1 volt per. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5 volts looks very good. You want to check your voltages. These brick supplies are a killer. And then you put it on AC and you expand way up to see how much noise you got. And it's very clean. There's not a lot of noise on this. So that's good. And I will check the 9 volts with a meter because this comes in a lot higher than 9 volts on the scope. But it's the average voltage, how you measure AC voltage. So let me get my probes out here. Sorry, I'm unprepared here. AC volts. And we're going to read what that says. And that says 10.7 volts, which is perfect for a 9 volt transformer, okay? So we're good. Our power supply is good. I've got all the chips put back in. This monitor is really crappy. Power is off right now. But we'll see if we get any signs of life. Look at that! Okay, it's hard to see because that's a really crappy monitor. But it says ready. Commodore 64 basic, 338,911 basic bytes free. That is a working Commodore 64. So all that was wrong with this was the PLA. I'm going to put the SID back in because sometimes that SID chip can actually... So that was easy. I had bought all new RAM chips and sockets. Sometimes there's problems with these little logic chips in here. But I have parts to change those and the ability to test them if those... I already tested the onboard voltages. I'm going to replace all the capacitors because they have a tendency to short out. And I'm going to put heat sinks on all of these chips. So let me turn this light back on, see if it helps. I've got glue-on heat sinks for all these chips. Alright guys, well, when I get it put back together, maybe I'll plug it back into a good monitor. I've got a good monitor upstairs. We can check the VIC chip. You know what? I don't have any games or anything to play yet. I just wanted to get this thing working first before I spend any time or money on it. So now that I know that it works, we should be good to go. Alright. Well, what I plan on doing now is I'm going to put that SID chip in here. Power is off. I'm touching the board first. And just make sure that it doesn't load the system down. Okay, there's my blue screen, which is black and white. But just to prove that it's not the SID chip. Okay. Yep, that wasn't in there very good. Let me power this back up again. Okay, it doesn't load it down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the tops of these chips all off, and we're going to install our heat sinks. Okay? Okay. So, this guy needs to go off. This power needs to go off. We'll disconnect this just to make sure. See, there's some sticky residue left on here. I bought a really nice set of chips, or I mean heat sinks. Well, this is actually the cap kit from a company called Console 5, CONSOLE5.com. All kinds of electronic parts and nice heat sinks for your Commodore, and a little bit of heat sink glue. I got the glue-on kind. Okay, these are labeled. I'm going to take them off. What I'm going to do is experiment cleaning this off. I have some high volatile cleaner here. Oh yeah, it's taking it right off. And he has the residue. I might get a Jiffy DOS ROM for this, which makes the hard drive and everything run a whole lot faster. Not the hard drive, the floppy drive. Clean the VIC. The VIC is the chip that probably gets the hottest. I'm going to put some more clean stuff on that one. This is kind of a blaster in the CPU. They dry so fast. Alright, well that's good because we can continue to work this. I'm using CRC electronic cleaner for that. I'm going to start with these. I got higher heat sinks to use, bigger heat sinks I should say, for the VIC and the CPU. Ain't that nice? And smaller ones for these, because these don't get anywhere near as hot. And then 24 pinners for the 5, which I don't need 5 because I got this new chip for the PLA that is bad. You know what? I'm going to change the caps first. Alright. Try this one again. Okay, they come right out then. So, that solder wick is awful small. So here's my 100 at 16. Well, I guess what I'm going to try to do is I'm just going to try to maybe block the board up here with something heavy. Okay. Wah, wah, wah. This is the positive side. I'm going to keep that moving. And can't believe that won't melt. This is not the right way to do it, guys and gals. I guarantee you. Okay. I'm going to lay that one down because it looks like it needs to lay down out of the way. Trying out new glasses and they got trifocals and I can't find the right spot to focus on. So, get these soldered in good. Watch the solder flow and get nice and shiny. Alright. Finally. That was ugly. So there's one. And I just left him laying down here. This guy, I think I'm that's right in the middle of that triple. Sorry, you guys can't see very well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to heat the back side up right here and pull it out this way. There's one. There's the other. Well, that guy is a 470. So we'll find the 470. We'll clean this up with a little solder wick down here. My solder wick may be contaminated too, you know, because it's really old, like all of us, or like me anyway. And putting fresh solder on refluxes the joint too, kind of. Being tough. Well, unfortunately, it looks like I got to do it in the same manner. I'm going to cut the leads a lot shorter though, and put them in one by one. Getting ugly. Okay, that guy's in. So I said this is not the way you want to do it. Okay, well, I'm going to continue to do these. You guys don't want to watch this misery. Do you? This is just way too boring. Oops. All right. One new cap on. Now, out of curiosity, let's test the old ones we took off. And, oh, I don't have my test clips here. Oh, actually, I got a good meter, actually. So we'll straighten these guys out. That's a 470, so 2000 is what I want to be on. It says it's a 490, which is good. And the dissipation is good. So that was actually a good capacitor. Let's see what the other one looks like. I don't know if this is long enough. this guy is a 100. Yeah, it says 107. Low dissipation. Let's see what the little meter says, my cheap meter. Oh. This says 117. Half an ohm. So that one looks like it's getting a little leaky. Alright, so here we go again. I'm gonna take some contact cleaner to these two. Don't know why. Just because it's me. SID chip, Vic, timing chip. Wipe them down a little bit more. Stuff evaporates almost immediately. So now I got this thermoconductive adhesive. And it's the puncture type. So we puncture it. I don't really know how much of this I'm supposed to use. You don't want a lot. The adhesive just forces the air out. So you want to push that down as tight as you can get it, is what the trick is. And make sure it hangs over approximately the same amount on each side. It says the set time is 5 minutes. What I'm going to do tonight, guys, is I'm just going to put this on. Thin coat. You do the same thing with your silicone. If you're putting heatsink compound on, you want it very thin, because it's not the glue. The silicone just forces the air out. Alright, so that's pretty much what I'm doing. You can see what I'm doing. And I'll come back when we're done. Right, I have got all the rest of the chips, heat sinks installed. I'm making sure that I wrap up. Now really, the core of this chip is just in the center. So, does some of the heat escape through the plastic? It's possible. Most of it's coming right out of the center, but a bigger heatsink will draw more away anyway. So, I got a little bit bigger heatsinks for these guys. And we push it down nice and tight. Make sure we force any air bubbles out. Now this board doesn't have the RF shield on it like some of them. The pail doesn't need it. I've got some little tiny peel and stick ones though for it. That's it for now, guys. You want to check and see if this Commodore works again? We're going to do it one more time after we've had the caps out, right? Right. Alright, we'll get ourselves out of the way a little bit here. Flare off the VCR so she... Let's see, what don't I need? Let's see if that's the VCD monitor. Oh, it's got the monitor. Oh, yes it is, okay. VCR, we'll turn that guy off so we can see it. And where is the video? there's nothing under the board like a little wire or anything. Okay, come on. Where are you hiding? There it is. In there. Power in there. Bingo. Okay guys, we have a working board. Let's put it together and then we'll call it good. Well, I don't want to put it together yet because I might knock these heat sinks out of the way. So I'm going to let these heat sinks set up overnight and then we'll put it together. Alright, we'll see you tomorrow.